Alright, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to calculate damage in Monster Hunter Wilds. This is damage calculation 101. Alright, first thing is you want to display without coefficient. This is what's known as true raw. In the previous games, there's absolutely no reason to display with coefficient. So my attack is 100 raw. So we're just gonna put that in here. 100 raw is basically physical damage. So my affinity is actually at 0. So we're gonna ignore affinity. Affinity is just critical rate. So I have a 0% chance to do critical damage. In this game, the base critical is 25% more damage. You can increase that with the critical boost skill, but we're just gonna ignore it. The amount of physical damage you do or raw damage you do is raw times motion value times sharpness times hit zone value. And that gives you your total raw damage. Now, what are all of these things? Motion value is basically the strength of the specific move in the move set. So I'm going to do it for a chop, which is the triangle or Y attack on Sword and Shield, and that motion value is 19. So here I put 0.19, and then it's multiplied by the sharpness. So you can see in the top left, my sharpness is green. So the multiplier for green sharpness is 5%, so it's 1.05. Then next you have to multiply it by the hit zone value, and that is the amount of damage that is received by the monster, and it's dependent on the monster part. So the hit zone value for the training dummy on the soft spot is 0.8. So 80% of that damage, of this damage goes through, and that gives me my final damage number for raw damage. All right, so that should be 16. Let's slap the monster here and check if that's correct. And it's 16. But what about elemental damage? All right, so I switched swords here, and basically it's the same raw as the last sword I was using. It had 100 raw, and it also has the same green sharpness, but it also has 5 affinity and 100 fire element. Now, I'm just gonna ignore the affinity for now. The main thing is I want the raw to be the same, and I just want that addition of element on the weapon. Now, true element in this game is actually that number divided by 10, so it's very easy. If you have 600 element, then your true element is 60. So in this case, I have 100 element displayed. My true element is actually 10. All right, so what's the calculation for the elemental part? Well, it's pretty simple. You have your true element here. This is actually true element. In this game, this is actually new to Monster Hunter Wilds. It's an elemental motion value, and every single move in a weapon's moveset has an elemental motion value. Usually it's 1. It really depends on the weapon. Like for a lot of the Sword and Shield moves, it's like 1.3 or 1.2. I've seen Hammer have elemental motion values for spinning bludgeon as high as 2, a factor of 2 or 2.5. So this is actually very new to the game. This is actually very important, very new to the game. And this is the reason that a lot of elemental builds are actually viable now in the game. It's because of this elemental motion value. In previous games, it was actually only 1. There was no elemental motion value, so it's basically you could take it as elemental motion value of 1, which did nothing. All right, the next is the elemental hit zone value of the monster. For the training dummy, it's 30, so we're gonna put 0.3, and then the elemental sharpness modifier is 1, so we're on green sharpness, right? So it's just 1 for elemental damage, and then the total element is just the true element times the elemental motion value times elemental hit zone value times elemental sharpness, and that gives me the total element damage, 3.9. All right, so all I'm going to do is just add that to the total raw damage, and again, this is for a chop. All right, so we should get a 19.86 damage or 19.9 damage. Let's see. And that's exactly what we got. All right, let's do lateral. This is the B attack on Sword and Shield, and everything's the same except for the elemental motion value. It's different this time. For lateral, it's not 1.3, it's 1.2. Additionally, the motion value is different. The lateral hit on Sword and Shield is stronger than the chop. So you can see the chop motion value is only 19, while the lateral motion value is 27, which is significantly higher. So based on the calculation we did previously, we should get 26.3 damage. Let's see that. And that's exactly what we get. All right, let's do a weird one here. Let's do Shield Bash. And this is the first hit in the Shield Bash combo for Sword and Shield. And, it does have a different motion value for the raw damage. But the thing I want to show here is the elemental motion value is actually 0 for this attack. So that means you're literally getting 0 elemental damage out of this move. So even though I still have my fire Sword and Shield equipped, it's going to do 0 elemental damage. And let's check how much damage it does. It should be 10.9. Let's check. And that is correct, 10.9. So this is the basics on how to calculate damage in Monster Hunter. In a future video, I'm going to probably cover critical element as well as other funky stuff that affects the calculation. We'll probably also include calculating average damage. So that's including how much damage you do on average with the addition of affinity, critical rates, and this critical modifier being higher than 1. So subscribe if you're interested in that. Hope that helped. Thanks for watching.